One night in 1977, we heard something. It came in strong, narrow, focused, then it disappeared. No one's ever found where it came from, and no one's heard it since. Unless we just didn't recognize it the second time. The big gear wasn't built to move. It was fixed, cemented in place like a radar dish pointed at infinity. It scanned the sky passively as the Earth rotated beneath it. Every 72 seconds, a new slice of sky, then another and another. But on this night, one slice didn't behave like the rest. That's the signal. 6 characters, each letter marking intensity, starting low, then climbing until the signal reached a peak and fell off just as fast.
6EQUJ5 represents a spike in narrowband radio emissions, reaching 30 times above background levels.
And just like that, it was gone. Never repeated, never seen again. When Jerry Ehman saw it, he didn't sound the alarms. He didn't make a phone call. He just stared, then circled it, and wrote one word out of sheer disbelief. Wow. It wasn't like anything they logged in before. Not a pulsar or satellite or a reflection. And it came in at a very specific frequency.
1420.456 megahertz. That frequency aligns with the hydrogen line, an interstellar standard for radio communication.
If you wanted to build a signal that another intelligent species might recognize, that's the one you'd use. And that's what made it so disturbing. If there's a Rosetta Stone for interstellar communication, it starts with hydrogen, the simplest, most common element in the universe. And at its heart, one frequency that resonates across the cosmos.
The hydrogen line is produced when a hydrogen atom's electron flips its spin state, emitting radio waves at precisely 1420.405 megahertz.
That frequency is everywhere, and to SETI researchers, it's sacred. They call it the universal beacon. If you wanted to say hello, quietly, clearly, and to anyone out there, you'd park your signal right there. And in 1977, that's exactly what the WOW signal did. But see, science doesn't run on hunches, and for decades, researchers tried to find a natural explanation. A paper suggested the signal came from a comet, its hydrogen cloud releasing emissions near the same frequency. But there was a problem. The comet wasn't where it needed to be.
Orbital data confirmed that Comet 266P/Christensen was over 15 degrees from the telescope's viewing window during the event.
And so the mystery stayed cold until 2024. That year, a team studying flare activity in the deep space noticed something strange. A faint but focused signal near the hydrogen line. It wasn't powerful, but it looked familiar. And it gave rise to a new theory.
Mid-stir emissions, microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation, can produce highly directional, narrowband signals. Under rare conditions, these may occur naturally in cold hydrogen clouds exposed to sudden flare activity.
In plain terms, the universe may have created its own version of a laser, aimed in our direction, and we just happen to be listening. So, no aliens, just the right storm at the right time. Logical, repeatable, and totally unsatisfying. Because there's still that star. Same temperature, same size, same glow. What are the odds that the signal came from a sun that looks just like ours?
Observed by Breakthrough. Listen in 2022. No signal detected. Yet statistical interest in the region remains elevated.
It doesn't prove anything, but it does something even more dangerous. It keeps the question alive. Picture the room. It's just past midnight. The big ears printer ticks like a metronome, quiet, steady, and assuming. Then a technician walks by, glances at the numbers, and just stops. Something doesn't look random. It's peaking, letter by letter, stronger than background radiation should allow. They don't panic, there's no blinking red light, no dramatic music, just a paper roll with a code, and one person looking at it long enough to write wow. In the weeks after the wow signal was logged, the SETI community did what they always do. They went quiet, thoughtful, and cautious. Because if there's one rule in this field, it's this: extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And a one-time signal, no matter how elegant, just isn't enough. But still, researchers trembled. They pointed telescopes back at the source, ran signal sweeps, locked every anomaly within 50 degrees of the regional detection zone. But nothing, not even a whisper. And when it comes to signals like this, that code sticks. If you ask 3 scientists, you'll get 4 theories. Some say it was a satellite artifact, others argue it was reflected Earth-based radar. A few still believe it was a hardware glitch, despite no failures logged that night. And then there are the outliers, the ones who whisper a darker question. What if it wasn't a signal at all? What if it was a scan? A pass-by surveillance ping, like sonar, a civilization using a narrowband burst not to talk but to map. Because the signal didn't drift, it didn't repeat, it came in clean, precise like a rangefinder, and it never followed up.
SETI has no current protocol for interpreting non-repeating, non-modulated signals as intentional acts of surveillance. However, several military radar systems on Earth use brief, directional bursts to construct synthetic aperture scans.
That idea is terrifying if you sit with it, because a message implies intention, hope, contact, a voice in the dark. But a scan, that means we were never meant to reply, just to be measured. And that's what scientists still argue about today. By the early 2000s, the wow signal had become more than data. It was a riddle, one that the internet couldn't let go. Not science fiction, but not proof, just something in between. And for the people who found it, that was enough. Spend 10 minutes in the SETI forums or deep on Reddit and you'll find 3 kinds of people. The first camp, the believers, see the signal as a smoking gun. Narrowband, hydrogen line, no terrestrial source. To them, that's enough. They don't need repeatability, they need a reason to believe we aren't alone. The second camp, the skeptics, aren't dismissive. They just want evidence that can stand on its own. And one signal, one time, just can't.
Statistically, a single unexplained signal over 50 years of radio observation falls within expected anomaly thresholds. This does not confirm intelligent origin.
But it's the third group that's the most unsettling. The ones who ask, what if it was never about us? What if we overheard something meant for someone else? Or worse, what if it was a scan? A civilization taking inventory, a snapshot, no message, just measurement. That theory doesn't give you hope, it gives you surveillance. And maybe that's why this one signal, no modulation and no return address, stays so loud in people's minds. And then there's this one.
SETI has identified multiple unexplained one-time signals since 1977. None have matched the wow signal in duration, structure, or proximity to the hydrogen line.
But this is what makes the wow signal different. It's not just rare, it's emotionally loaded. We wanted it to mean something, because if it didn't, then it's just noise in an empty universe. And that's a kind of silence most people aren't ready to sit with. It's easier to believe it was something, even if we don't know what. For most people, the wow signal didn't arrive as data, it arrived as rumor. A weird story, a forgotten observatory, and a single word scrawled in red ink. But over time, it became something else. We never heard the signal again, but we couldn't stop listening for it in other places. Because of the wow signal in Three-Body Problem, in Arrival, The Outer Wilds, Mass Effect, even Grand Theft Auto hid a signal code in a mural. We carried it forward, not because we proved anything, but because we wanted it to be real. It became a kind of stand-in for every unanswered call, every what if. And when science had nothing more to say, storytelling stepped in. We turned it into sound, into books, into games, into cautionary tales. Because deep down, even skeptics wonder, if someone was trying to reach us, would we even know how to listen? The telescope's gone, the data's archived, but the story, we're still telling it. When astronomers picked up the wow signal, it didn't just stand out, it stood alone. A single narrow frequency, strong, sharp and clean, with no modulation or drift or clear source. It didn't repeat or wobble, and it didn't match anything we've seen before. And just as quickly as it arrived, it just disappeared. Most signals from space, pulsars, quasars, radio bursts, they have patterns, rhythms, some kind of a signature. This didn't. It was too perfect and too brief. The universe doesn't always give us second chances. Maybe that was all we were ever going to get.
Signal analysis from 1977 indicates measurable Doppler shift, a gradual increase in frequency over 72 seconds, consistent with a source approaching the observer.
So this thing wasn't just out there, it was moving. That subtle frequency climb, that Doppler shift, is what haunts a lot of researchers. It means the signal might have not come from a stationary source. It might have been coming toward us, or maybe it crossed through Big Ear's fixed beam at just the right angle. Not a drift, a pass-by. And if you think about that too long, it gets uncomfortable. Because what kind of signal travels to a closing vector and never turns back? There's a term in SETI for what happened, non-repeatability. It means we heard it once, but never again. To most scientists, that makes it interesting, but not evidence. Still, a few researchers use a different word. They call it asymmetry. That's the idea that maybe the signal wasn't just a one-time fluke. Maybe it was a reply to something we didn't even know we sent. We've been leaking signals into space for a century. TV broadcasts, military radar, aircraft telemetry, all of it spitting out like light from an open window.
As of 2025, Earth's electromagnetic emissions form a detectable sphere nearly 100 light years in radius. Any civilization within range could have detected human presence as early as the 1930s.
So what if someone or something did? What if they heard us first? And what we picked up in 1977 wasn't them calling us. It was them calling back. We've always assumed we'd know a message when we saw it, that it'd be obvious, repeating, maybe even encoded. But what if it wasn't? What if it was just a tone, or a flare, or a snapshot? A ping, not meant to start a conversation, but to mark a location. That brings us to 1998, something most people never even heard about. Voyager 1 had passed into interstellar space. It wasn't transmitting anything unusual. Then suddenly, NASA received a return signal. A short burst, unexpected, just long enough to register. But what came through didn't match what had been sent.
The anomaly failed checksum validation and included an offset that did not correspond to any known Voyager function. NASA classified the event as a non-recurring transmission anomaly.
Some say it was interference, cosmic rays, instrument noise. But others, they think Voyager was answered. And if that's true, then it wouldn't be the first time something called back. What if that's what the wow signal was? Not even a greeting, not even a message, just a ping, a single flare in the dark, heard once, measured, logged, and maybe never meant to be understood.
Of more than 100 unexplained signals recorded since 1977, none have matched the wow signal's duration, narrowband profile, and alignment with the hydrogen line.
That's the part that gets lost in all the theories, all the skepticism and hope. We didn't prove anything, but we heard something. And that alone changes the question, because if the universe really is silent, then how do you explain the one time it wasn't? We don't know what it was, and we don't know if it meant anything, but if it did, we were listening. So let's recap. A one-time signal, 1,000 theories, but no answers. Was it a mistake or a message? Truth? Fiction? You decide.